So Claude Code released a very powerful command and tool a couple weeks ago that's called /goal. You might have heard of this because a lot of other harnesses like Hermes or like Codex have also released this command. And the idea of this command is that you give the LLM, you give the AI a specific goal, and it won't stop running until it achieves that goal. So two things here. The first one is it won't stop until it completes the goal, and the second is you define that goal. So it can be a very powerful tool if used correctly, and it shouldn't be used every single prompt that you send, because you also run the risk of setting maybe a bad goal or it misinterpreting what your goal actually is and it just running a bunch of tokens. That's why today I want to break down in very simple terms what this command actually is, what it does, how we can use it, and I'll give you guys some examples as well on how you can use it yourself, how you can test it out. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Josué and I make content on AI and automation. Lately it's been mostly on Claude Code because it's very, very powerful and I use it on my everyday life. And if you want to learn more about AI and automation, feel free to check out my free school community. I'll be leaving a link down below. It's completely free. There's tons of resources and people in there. So if you want to keep the discussion going, feel free to join. With that being said, let's jump right in. So how does /goal work? So Claude Code's autonomous loop. And this goes back to a different plugin that existed before this /goal command came up, and it was called a Ralph loop, which essentially was the same thing. It would just put the agent in a loop in which it will execute upon a specific goal, and then it will try to complete it. Now you don't need that plugin anymore. Now it's native on Claude Code, even on Codex, and like I said, Hermes, all these other agents. And so the idea is that you give a goal and it starts executing. So what is it? It's a completion condition. Claude keeps working turn by turn until a fast model confirms that condition holds, and then goal auto clear. So here's some facts about /goal command. So one goal active per session, that's how much you can have every single session. If you start a /goal, you need to wait until that goal finishes, or if you interrupt it, then you can restart the goal. But once it's running, it's going to keep running until it finishes. That's why I said it's very important that you know how to prompt it and how to also define the goal so that you don't waste all your time, all your tokens on something that is going to give you a result that is not what you're looking for. The condition can be up to 4,000 character. Setting a goal starts a turn immediately. Like I said, no separate prompt. It survives if you, for example, close the session and it doesn't completely execute the goal, then you can resume this using the resume command. It works in the CLI, the terminal, and it also works in the desktop, which is really cool. If you've used Claude Desktop before, you know that there's a few more limitations than if you were to do it to the terminal. I personally like using the terminal a little bit better because I have a little bit more control. One thing I really don't like about the desktop is that I can't resume the conversations or the sessions that I have on the CLI in here, which is very frustrating. And using the desktop has its own advantages, like, visually being able to see the tables and things like that. Things render a little bit better too. So yeah. So how does it work? You start a session and then you write /goal and then you write your prompt or what your condition is going to be. So if I go over to Claude and I'm actually gonna start a new project, have it goal demo, then I can do /goal. And you can see, set a goal, keep working until a condition is met. So if I do space, I can do anything. I could have a research, for example, or we can say, let's say you have a bunch of receipts in your email. You can give it access and you can tell it to go over all your emails for a specific date range, look for those receipts, download them, put them in folders, read through all of them. And you can define the goal as having a folder in your Finder in which you have everything sorted out by category, by date, by, amount of charge, range. So, you define it and then it's going to run until it meets that condition. So how does it work? It is basically a wrap around a session scope prompt based stub hook. So every turn, a second model judges if the condition is met. So you essentially have a worker and then you have an evaluator. So, and then there's you, which is outside of the loop, but you're the one that starts the loop. So you type the goal, you send the condition, and then this gets sent over to a worker, which writes the code. It runs bash, it reads the documents, it executes. And then we have an evaluator that every now and then it goes ahead and it reads the conversation and it also reads the progress that the main agent is doing throughout that goal. So it's going to require less compute. That's why if you see over here, the worker is using a main model such as Sonnet or Opus 7. And then here for a small fast model, that's what the evaluator is going to be using, which is Haiku. Haiku is the lightest model that Anthropic has. And so they're just going this loop, and once the evaluator determines that it's done, the execution ends, goal auto clears, it turns the turn returns to you and it gives you all the results back. And so to clear up a little bit more what the evaluator actually does, the evaluator only sees the conversation transcript. It does not run commands or read files on its own. So your condition must be something that the worker's own output can prove. So that's why having the output be something more literal or something more that's so that the evaluator can read is actually important, so that you're not stuck in an infinite loop. Because it also happens that you don't define your goal or your result in a very clear way, that it just keeps going thinking that it hasn't finished and it's just going to burn through all your tokens. So now let me give you a framework, a very easy to remember framework on what's the best way to prompt an effective condition for using /goal. And this is using this 4 different stage prompt, and it starts off obviously with the /goal, but it starts with the end state, saying what's the one measurable thing. For example, it could be like a test result, it could be a piece of code, it could be a file count, it can be an empty queue. So defining what that end state is very important. You can also write what's the stated check, which is the second part, basically tells how Claude should approve it. So in cases it can be like command runs or scripts that actually run. Then it's very important that you have constraint what must change on the way there. For example, guardrails to prevent the worker from taking shortcuts. So if you want this goal to only focus on a specific group of files in your project, let's say you're building a feature for software, then you want to make that very clear when you're writing your goal prompt, so that it doesn't go and try to look for shortcuts, maybe with other files on your code base or even in the web. And then we can have a safety cap. For example, you can have stop after 20 turns, so after 45 minutes. You make it explicitly say that it's a non-negotiable and always include. This is just a way to prevent tokens from being burned in case your plan is to send this goal and then walk away from your computer, or you're gonna leave it running all night. Then these are safety caps that you can leave running, or you can leave in place so that it doesn't burn through your tokens in case it goes into a loop that makes it keep executing even though it might have already completed the task. So why don't we go ahead and give this a test. So personally, in my computer right now, I have a lot of files in my downloads that are just screenshots and a bunch of different images that are not really like sorted out in any way. They're just like floating around. So I would like to have some organization here. As you see, it's quite a bit. So why don't we use this /goal command for this and then see what happens. I want you to go through my downloads folder and go through all the files from this year, and I want you to look for any screenshots or any screen recordings. And what I want you to do is I want you to create a folder inside the downloads that holds all of these files in a more organized way. So we're going to have a folder that says screen captures, and then inside that folder there's going to be 2 subfolders, one for screenshots and one for screen recordings. And I just want you to grab all those files and put them inside both of those folders. Once you've added all of them, review all the downloads folder one more time to make sure that there's none missing, and report back to me how many files are in each folder. So that's going to be my prompt, and I'm just going to be sending that, and we'll see what it comes back with. So it finished, and it looks like it only got a few of them, because I've previously done this before, but I do still have a lot of stuff that is just floating around. So I could probably figure out a way to organize all of this in a way that it's easier for me. So I actually want to get all the images in there. So I'm just gonna say, can you please gather all of the images and add a third folder that's called just images? And this can be any type from, PNG, any sort of image format file. Make sure to put it in there, no matter what the name of the file is. I just wanted to see how many images I have just floating around in my downloads. And I'm actually gonna write base and then go. There we go. Send that over. Look, now we have 339 loose images. So that makes more sense. It looks like it's done. So it's a very lightweight task. Now we have all of these images that are just floating around. And it's nice to have them all in a specific place. But now I think what's next is just organizing everything else. But you get the idea. A very simple example of goal. I've used this for different things as well. In more advanced projects, for example, building an MCP for creating voice agents through Claude Code, and I'm gonna be putting more content about that later on. But this is a very complex project just because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be iterated. For example, one of them was copying a big repository of skills from one repo into another one. And the goal was to be able to migrate all of those skills without missing any of those. That's when using something like /goal was very key and very useful, because I can ensure that I can ensure that if my condition is set so that all of the skills are transferred and that none of them are missing, that all of them are going to be transferred. And that's another thing I want to talk about, that if I was not to use /goal, then what most likely would happen is that Claude would then ask me every, I don't know, let's suppose we have 50 skills. Every 5 skills, it would be like, do you want to move on to the next ones? And it would be asking for my approval. So it's very key that we get to use the command goals when we have something that's very repetitive, and that we know that if we were to do it by using just a regular Claude prompting, that it would take longer. Then that's when you want to use that command. Not only that, but I should mention, you want to make sure you're using auto mode or bypass permissions. Otherwise, you're going to kick off your goal, and then it's just not going to keep executing because it's going to ask for your permission. But you want to make sure that you're doing this on a project or a code base that you trust Claude on going in and making changes on your behalf. So yeah, that was a quick breakdown of what the /goal command is. I encourage everyone to use this feature. Use it if you're using Codex or if you're using a Hermes agent. Try it out, see what your thoughts are. Give it a goal, challenge it to build like a dashboard or something a little bit more complex, and you're gonna have your mind blown because it's very, very powerful. So with that being said, I hope you find the video useful, and like I said, feel free to join my school community. There's a video down below. If you enjoyed it, like the video, and feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.